Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into one of humanity's oldest and really most universal questions. Do the dead watch the living?
It's a huge one.
Yeah, and this isn't just some philosophical thing. It's a question that's echoed through, well, countless cultures, religions, eras, from ancient Egypt right up to modern day Mexico. It kind of touches on experiences a lot of us have had, maybe that weird feeling in a cemetery or, just being watched when you're home alone.
And it's fascinating how mainstream science often goes straight to psychology or neurology to explain it all.
Right, like grief or projection, maybe self-deception.
Exactly. But then you get these other stories, where loads of people report the same thing or technology picks up something.
Yeah.
Unexplainable.
Yeah.
So our mission today is really to unpack the incredible sources you've gathered. They explore evidence, personal stories, different phenomena, suggesting the answer might be way more complex than we usually think.
Okay.
Get ready to maybe question some things you thought you knew about death based on what's in these materials.
Yeah. Okay, let's dive right in then. From ancient beliefs to modern tech, let's look at what these sources are suggesting about this mystery. Let's maybe kick things off with that really primal feeling, the hairs standing up on your neck, feeling watched when nobody's there.
That sixth sense.
Yeah, exactly. Lots of us have felt that. But what about when it comes with other weird stuff, especially where someone's recently passed away?
Well, your sources get into some incredibly personal accounts, like Helena, 43, who lost her mother.
Okay.
6 months after the funeral, she is organizing clothes, and she said she felt this gentle touch on her shoulder. And her mother's perfume, very distinct, just lingered in the air.
Wow.
For her, it wasn't just, imagination. She was sure her mother was there.
And the sources say this isn't just isolated stuff, right? There are common signs people report.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Things like sudden temperature changes.
Like cold spots, even when it's warm.
Exactly. Unexplained cold spots and unexplained sounds, too. Footsteps in empty halls. Doors creaking with no draft, maybe music playing softly when everything's off. Some theories in the sources actually suggest that these entities, they might borrow energy to manifest, causing those temperature drops. There's another account, Brendan, a 67-year-old widower. He absolutely swears he still hears his wife humming in the kitchen.
Just like she used to.
Exactly like she did for 40 years. And what's really interesting is he only notices it in that, fuzzy state between sleep and waking up.
Ah, the hypnagogic state.
Right, where perception might be a bit different, expanded.
And it's not just feelings or sounds. What about objects? The sources mention things moving.
Yeah, that comes up too. Pictures falling off walls, and often it's the same picture of the deceased relative again and again.
Weird.
Or books found open to specific pages, maybe with relevant messages. Even things like fresh flowers just wilting super fast in one particular spot.
So, okay, that leads to the question. In our tech-heavy world, how does this stuff show up now?
Good question. And the sources point to new ways, yeah? Phones ringing maybe at the exact time the person used to call.
Oh, wow.
TVs changing channels to their favorite show. Computers suddenly opening old photo files of them.
Like the story of Sarah.
Yeah, Sarah reported her dad's computer started playing his favorite classical music playlist for weeks after he died, always when he used to get home from work.
And it only stopped when?
When she finally formatted the whole computer, wiped it clean.
What really jumps out here is how personal all this is. It's not just random occurrences. They seem tailored,
Exactly. Why are they so personal?
Yeah, do the sources get into that?
That connection to personal details is seen as really key. It suggests maybe a continued individual consciousness.
Right.
And the sources also highlight something interesting. Young children often seem to perceive these things first.
Little kids.
Yeah. They might point to empty corners, wave, talk to someone who isn't there. Adults often just brush it off. It's just their imagination.
Sure.
But some experts in these materials suggest kids haven't developed all those rational filters yet, so maybe they can perceive presences adults just screen out.
Like Lucia's daughter.
Right, the 4-year-old. After her grandpa died, she kept setting 2 plates at the table, one for grandpa.
And how long did that go on?
For 3 months, which is interesting because that time frame, 3 months, lines up with what a lot of esoteric traditions say is needed for a soul to sort of fully detach.
So pulling this first part together, what's the general feeling people get from these signs? Is it scary?
Mostly, no. According to the sources, it's usually comforting, a sense of protection or feeling like their loved one managed to say goodbye or send reassurance.
Like they want to let us know they're okay.
Yeah, precisely. As if they want to reassure us.
Okay, now let's shift gears a bit. There's a specific time frame your sources really focus on as critical, right after death.
Yes. This is fascinating. It's described not just as the last breath, but as a complex process. And it takes, according to these sources, exactly 72 hours.
3 days.
3 days.
Yeah.
And cultures all over the world seem to recognize this period. Tibetans call it the bardo. the intermediate state.
And spiritualists,
They call it the disincarnation period. Even ancient Catholics talked about the 3 days of the soul. It's a recurring theme.
and Dr. Raymond Moody's work on near-death experiences ties into this, right?
Absolutely. He documented thousands of cases, people clinically dead, sometimes even confirmed brain dead, reporting they were observing their own bodies, their relatives.
Suggesting the soul or consciousness doesn't just switch off instantly.
Exactly. And nurses, doctors, people on the front lines in hospitals, they report consistent phenomena during these first 72 hours too.
Like what?
Equipment in the deceased person's room, acting up, going off for no reason, lights flickering, and just an intense feeling of presence. So strong, some staff apparently refused to go into the room alone during that time.
Wow. There was that story about the nurse.
A nurse with 20 years experience. She recalled this elderly patient who died on a Tuesday. For 3 days, exactly at the time he passed away, the TV in his room turned itself on.
To his favorite channel.
To the news channel he watched religiously every single day. Then on the third day, it just stopped. Never happened again.
So how do these esoteric traditions explain what's supposedly happening during those 3 days?
Well, as the sources outline it, consciousness needs that time to fully disconnect. It moves through stages. Day 1, still a strong link to the body. Day 2, maybe perceiving other dimensions. Day 3, breaking free more completely.
But during that whole time...
During that whole time, the idea is the soul retains its full ability to observe. It's still present, watching.
Which makes you think about traditional funeral practices, doesn't it? Keeping the body laid out for 3 days.
Exactly. The sources suggest there's a deeper reason than just custom. The idea is the deceased is still there, watching, listening, absorbing the tributes and farewells.
Like Marina's experience with her husband.
Right. Her husband died suddenly in a car accident. At the wake, she whispered all the things she hadn't said, and she said she felt his presence stronger there than when he was sick. Like his full attention was on her.
Without the body's limitations, maybe.
Perhaps. And shamans in various cultures, they developed specific rituals just for these 72 hours. Lighting candles, burning incense, keeping vigil.
Not just superstition, then.
They see it as recognizing that this is the moment of closest contact between worlds, when communication, they believe, is easy.
And the sources say the deceased have some choice during this time.
That's a key point. Some might leave right away, others might choose to stay longer, maybe for unfinished business, or to protect loved ones.
And that's when those vivid dream visits often happen.
Yes, consistently reported during those first 3 nights, delivering messages, peace, forgiveness, sometimes practical instructions like they're trying to wrap things up and make sure everyone's okay.
Now, things get even more interesting when you look at some of the, well, more speculative scientific ideas mentioned.
Right, the quantum consciousness theories. It's definitely out there, highly debated, but the sources explore it. The idea is that consciousness might not be just in the brain.
Like an energy field.
Potentially. An energy field that might persist for a while, even after brain death. And they mention studies using sensitive equipment.
Detecting energy fluctuations.
Yes. Unexplained but consistent energy fluctuations recorded in hospital rooms during those exact 72 hours.
So if you put all that together, what the sources are suggesting is that the dead do observe us, and it's maybe most intense right after they pass.
That seems to be the implication. Observing us with a clarity, a closeness they might not have even had in life.
Okay, so what happens after those first 72 hours? Where does the connection happen then? The sources point strongly towards dreams, right?
Absolutely. Dreams seem to be the main territory where these worlds meet. And you know that feeling. You wake up, your heart's pounding.
The dream was so real.
So real. You can still smell the perfume, hear their voice perfectly, see their face clear as day. It just feels different from a normal dream, like a visit.
Yeah, deep down you just know.
And the consensus in your sources is that dreams, especially REM sleep, act like a natural bridge.
Because our rational mind quiets down.
Exactly. Consciousness becomes more receptive, like tuning into a different radio station you normally can't pick up.
And there's even some neuroscience mentioned.
Yeah. What's really intriguing is that some studies noted in your materials found brainwave patterns during deep REM sleep that look kind of similar to patterns recorded in mediums during trance states.
Suggesting maybe a neurological link to accessing something else?
It's a potential link some researchers are exploring, yeah. A commonality in accessing certain states.
And the sources make a distinction between regular dreams about grief and actual visitations.
Yes, a clear distinction. They say these processing dreams are just our minds working through law. But real visitations have specific hallmarks.
Like what?
The deceased usually appears healthy, peaceful. They communicate clearly, coherently. Often they reveal information the dreamer couldn't possibly have known. And they leave behind this deep sense of comfort, of real connection.
Antonia's story is a powerful example of that.
It really is. Her 19-year-old son died in an accident. 3 months later, He appears in her dream, wearing a white shirt she'd never seen before.
And he tells her,
Mom, I'm okay, stop crying. And then says, check the drawer in my desk. There's a letter I wrote for your birthday.
And she found it.
She found it, dated the month before, just sitting there.
How do the sources explain that? It's incredible.
Well, the idea explored is that during sleep, our consciousness might partially detach, allowing us to access other planes of existence where the deceased are still active. It's almost like we go visit them in their space.
And there's research backing this up, apparently, like at the University of Virginia.
Yes, the sources mentioned studies documenting hundreds of cases where dream information turned out to be factually correct. Details about lost items, things that happened after the death, messages for other family members, stuff the dreamer had no normal way of knowing.
Wow. And do these visitations follow patterns?
Intriguingly, yes. Most seem to happen between 3:00 and 6 a.m.
A sacred hour.
Right, when spiritual traditions say the veil between worlds is thinnest. They're also most common in the first few weeks after death, then tend to decrease over time.
Like Carlos and his father.
Exactly. His father visited him in dreams for 6 months after passing, always around 4:30 a.m., giving specific advice on caring for his mother, who had Alzheimer's.
And the advice was good.
Specialists later confirmed it was spot-on, accurate advice.
And kids experience this even more often.
Apparently so, according to the source. Again, maybe that lack of filtering. And the frequency matters too. Recurring visits might mean an important message isn't getting through yet. Occasional ones are more like gestures of love or showing up for big moments.
So the takeaway from the dream section seems to be, if they can visit, share accurate info, show concern.
Then it suggests they retain not just consciousness, but emotional connection and the ability to, well, keep tabs on our lives.
Yeah.
To observe us.
Okay, let's shift from personal experience to something more empirical. Technology. Your sources say tech is actually capturing stuff that shouldn't be there.
Yeah, it's a whole other angle.
Yeah.
Starting way back in 1862 with spirit photography, William Mumbler.
Right, those old photos with extra figures.
Exactly. Unexplained images showing up on film, translucent figures, sometimes familiar faces. Skeptics cried fraud, obviously.
Sure.
But technical analyses at the time apparently struggled to explain how some images were made with the tech they had back then.
And this still happens with modern cameras.
That's the thing. The reports suggest it happens regardless of the gear. Old analog cameras, new digital ones, smartphones, security cameras. And now with social media, these images spread instantly.
Like Marina's photo.
Yeah, she was taking pictures at her daughter's first birthday party. Later, looking at the photos, there's a clear silhouette in an empty chair behind the baby. Looks just like her mother, who'd passed away 2 months before. Nobody saw anything at the time.
Chilling. And then there are EVPs, electronic voice phenomena.
Right. Voices captured on audio recordings that have no identifiable source.
How does that work? People just record silence.
Basically, researchers go into quiet places, use sensitive recorders, sometimes ask specific questions out loud, and then analyze the recordings later, listening for whispers or voices that shouldn't be there.
And Thomas Edison was into this.
He was. Your materials mentioned he believed tech could bridge that gap, even worked on a spirit phone. Decades later, people like Dr. Konstantin Raudive really developed techniques.
And he recorded thousands.
Over 100,000 EVPs documented in your source. Voices speaking unknown languages sometimes or giving direct, coherent answers to complex questions. And technical analysis apparently ruled out radio waves or normal interference.
Okay, and then there's infrared. That's a whole different level.
It really is. Infrared cameras capture light spectrums we can't see, and they frequently record what look like full human figures.
Doing what?
Walking through empty rooms, sometimes interacting with objects, even seeming to look right at the camera.
And they seem intelligent, not just random shapes.
That's what's often noted, yes. Purposeful movement, reacting to the environment, sometimes apparently even avoiding being filmed once they sense the camera. Forensic analysis, according to these reports, consistently rules out normal explanations, like light tricks or reflection.
It makes you wonder if technology can catch these glimpses.
Imagine what people with a natural sensitivity might be perceiving all the time.
Which brings us neatly to mediums and sensitives. Your sources say they experience this connection constantly.
That's the claim. For them, it's not an occasional weird photo or soundbite.
Yeah.
It's like a parallel reality that's always there, coexisting with ours.
And this isn't new, right? Mediumship goes way back.
Millennia. Tribal shamans, Greek oracles, it's ancient. And modern mediums, according to the materials, often go through serious training.
Training for what?
Learning to differentiate their own thoughts and feelings from external input, developing energetic protection, practicing how to channel information clearly without their own stuff getting in the way. It's described as needing real discipline.
How do they describe the process? Like Amelia?
Yeah, Amelia, a medium for 15 years, she describes it like tuning an old radio. At first, just static, maybe lots of jumbled voices, but with practice, you learn to focus, lock onto a specific frequency, a specific presence, then their personality comes through clearly.
And the proof, I guess, is in the details they provide.
That's considered the gold standard. Information they couldn't possibly know otherwise, intimate family details, nicknames only the family used, secrets.
Like Chloe's story.
Right. She saw a medium 2 years after her husband passed. The medium described his hidden scamp collection accurately. Mentioned a pet name only the two of them ever used. And then said her husband was concerned she'd stop tending the garden they loved working on together. Details nobody else knew.
But there are fakes out there, too.
Absolutely. The sources acknowledge that. But they also highlight differences. Authentic mediums tend to offer specific info without fishing or asking leading questions. They often don't charge crazy fees. And sometimes they're hesitant with people who are very recently bereaved, knowing they're vulnerable.
And there have been actual scientific studies on mediums.
Yes. The sources mention studies like Dr. Gary Schwartz's at the University of Arizona, double-blind experiments, mediums given only a first name.
And they got accurate details.
Reportedly, yes. Details about the person's life, personality, how they died. The accuracy rates were apparently statistically way beyond chance.
And brain scans, too.
MRIs of mediums while supposedly channeling showed unusual brain activity, especially in areas linked to time and space perception, suggesting to some researchers their brains are processing information differently, maybe from non-conventional sources.
So putting all the mediumship accounts together, what's the picture that emerges?
It's a picture of continuous presence. The deceased don't just pop in now and then. They're constantly around, accompanying family at important moments, visiting places that were meaningful, staying interested in what's happening.
So death doesn't break the bond.
It just changes how it's expressed. That's the strong implication. Though an important point mediums raise is that not everyone is at peace. Some might be stuck, needing help due to trauma or attachments.
But for those who are at peace, they're not just watching passively.
No. That's maybe the most intriguing part. They're described as interacting energetically, influencing thoughts, setting gut feelings or intuitions, even intervening in practical ways sometimes.
So it's not separation.
It's a different kind of relationship. That's how it's framed.
Okay, one last area the sources cover. Place, certain locations where this presence feels really strong, even for non-sensitives.
Exactly. Like that Death Clinicus hospital in Sao Paulo.
Yeah.
Staff there consistently report feeling someone walking beside them in one specific hallway, echoing footsteps, that unmistakable feeling of being watched.
And it's not just old spookiness.
Not at all. Cemeteries and old houses, sure, but also hospitals, schools, theaters, even modern homes. Any place can become a sort of meeting point, according to these materials.
So what makes a place haunted, then, according to the sources? It's not just age.
No, it seems to be more about the emotions experienced there, especially intense emotions tied to death, trauma, or really deep emotional bonds.
Like prisons, Alcatraz.
Places like Alcatraz are often cited as prime examples. Hundreds of paranormal reports, voices from empty cells, doors slamming, those weird temperature drops documented again. They become like natural labs for this.
But it's not always scary, right? Some presences are meant to be protective.
That's a really important counterpoint in the materials, yes. Many places reportedly have benevolent presences, people who remain to look after a place they love or care for the people still living there.
Helping out.
Helping in emergencies, maybe giving warnings, or just maintaining a feeling of safety and protection.
It makes you think, have you ever been somewhere and just got those weird unexplained chills, that feeling the air is heavy or you're definitely not alone, even if you are?
It's a very common human experience, that feeling.
Yeah.
So if we try to weave all these threads together, all the insights from your sources, the answer to that big question seems pretty clear, doesn't it?
It points strongly towards yes.
Yes, the dead do observe the living. And maybe not just occasionally, but as these materials suggest, perhaps constantly and often, lovingly.
Yeah, from those little unexplained signs in daily life, through that critical 72-hour window, the dream visits, the tech evidence, it all seems to point towards this fascinating reality explored in your materials.
That those who've passed keep an active connection. They stay with us. They linger in meaningful places. They keep participating in our lives in ways we're really only just starting to grasp.
Yeah.
And if you accept that perspective, it brings a kind of responsibility, doesn't it?
Oh.
Well, if our loved ones are observing us, it suggests our own energy, our thoughts, our emotional state. It directly affects that connection.
So being positive helps.
Some traditions propose exactly that. Living with gratitude, love, peace that strengthens the bond. Getting lost in constant negativity or deep sorrow might create energetic barriers, making communication harder.
So for you, listening right now, what could all this mean? The sources seem to suggest death isn't really an end. It's more like a transformation. And maybe the way we live our lives, it either honors or perhaps disturbs those who might still be accompanying us just from the other side of the veil.
It definitely leaves you with a profound thought that maybe, in the grand scheme of things, love and connection really do transcend the boundaries we usually perceive.
Yeah. Maybe the biggest mystery isn't if they watch us,
but just how deeply connected we all truly remain.